All right. I'm Ali Khan. I'm here with Nick Bunch to interview him for my Management 5113 class. Nick, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. So my name is Nick Bunch. I live here in Tulsa. I have been in the electrical utilities field for about 12 years. Um, the last 10 of those have been with American Electric Power. And the last about 2 months have been with a sales company selling back to utility companies called Katie Johnson. So Um, that's me. That's kind of what I do. Current role is a team lead um, for Katie Johnson. Um, I've got um, a few employees underneath me, but I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead, so I'll let you go through your questions.
Gotcha. So, like you
Yeah,
were saying, so you have some employees that you oversee. How many
I do.
employees do you work with?
So in my current role, I have 5 direct reports. Um, I've got them. 4 of them are scattered throughout Texas, kind of Dallas and north area, up into Oklahoma, and then eastern and western from Dallas. So all the way out into Lubbock, the western Texas, and then I go all the way east, and I kind of odd, but out to eastern towards Louisiana, Missouri, and then down all the way into College Station is one of my other team reps. So we're kind of scattered there, and then I do have one vacant position in Western Oklahoma.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay. So, as a manager, what's your favorite style of managing people?
it's my favorite type of managing people. Like, what's my favorite style?
Yeah. How do you how
Uh,
do you
so
manage people?
the best I can. So what I found that's worked really good uh, as a manager or supervisor with dealing with people is just being honest and as transparent as possible. Um, a lot of my decision making with how I relay information on to my direct reports is usually coming from a spot where I try to remember where I was at before and how I received information. And good, bad, or indifferent, as long as you had trust with your supervisor and honesty and being transparent and open to answering questions that you can, um, people receive messages pretty well that way. So that's
Awesome.
kind of how I lead. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I think that's a really great way to communicate with your employees and uh, be trusting of you and your employees. So, if you have a problem with communications among the people that you manage, what approach do you take on fixing that issue?
Around communication, if you have a lack of communication or somebody withholding information or really just an issue that you're not hearing directly from an employee that you have to catch it from. Sorry, I had a vacuum cleaner beeping in here. The if you have to get to the bottom of an issue with an employee around communication, I personally, um, if I don't already know, which whenever I became a supervisor, I did try to figure out my employees and how they receive communication, what they feel like is their preferred method of receiving information. I usually follow that. If I don't know that, I bring them in to my office and ask that question first and foremost is, hey, I've got some things to discuss. I would like to know how you do like receiving information. And once they share that with you, then you kind of have a direction on how you go about your communication. If they are um, resistant to how you're going, maybe you take a step back and try it from a different angle. But typically, uh, I do like to ask that question. How do you receive information? Good and bad. But
Yeah.
typically, in that situation, you're talking about something that is kind of hard. If they prefer a second person in there, I open that door so you can have a mediator, someone they feel comfortable with. Um, but if they say they like it direct, I I do test that. Sometimes that's a, it kind of backfires a little bit because I can be a direct person and not sugarcoat stuff. And then you go, okay, maybe that wasn't received as well as they thought they could handle that. But nonetheless, asking that is important, I think.
Gotcha. All right. So how on some of the projects that you work on, how do you determine which tasks take more priority over others?
Um, so currently in my sales company role, in that hat as a team lead, um, the objective is, obviously we have to sell what we represent, but more importantly, to have re- repeated sales, long-term goals, you have to have that trust established. And so in this particular instance, whenever you ask what takes more of a priority, when you go, okay, well, what's the most important thing? I'm a sales company. You would think I would say sales, but I would tell you it's relationship building. You got to establish that relationship. You got to establish that trust. People want to spend money with people that they like, that they trust, and that they know picks up the phone whenever you call. So, um, having that foundation of trust first, I think, just repeatedly pays itself over and over and over again, just dividends. So, um, that's what I pick priority
Gotcha.
relationship over sales.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And on your team, how do you handle someone who doesn't fit well in a team?
So current role, I'm pretty new. I am experiencing, ironically enough, a little bit of this exact topic. I have a employee who has been with the company for quite a long time. I'm an external employee coming in as a um, kind of a superior supervisor. I don't project that onto my direct reports, but nonetheless, it's a organizational um, difference. If you look at the org chart, I'm here and it breaks out. So I think I have an individual kind of struggling with that, but um, I won't say he doesn't necessarily fit into the team as much as he's just resistant to new ideas, new change, and how I'm going about working through that is goes back to that priority or that priority that you just asked me before. Building the trust with my employee, um, trying to let him know I'm not here to be a superior. I'm here to be a supportive role and develop that trust, and then hopefully opening his willingness up to new ideas in the direction the company's going, which is changing um, as it grows bigger anyway. So um, just
Yeah.
trying to develop his trust, and then um, lead by example through that.
Okay. As a manager, what has been the most significant challenge that you have faced, and how have you overcome it?
Biggest challenge, probably, and I really hate labeling it this way, but the longer I'm in a supervisor position, there's a generational gap between um, your current workforce, your newer workforce that I'll classify in your mid 30s and below, and especially in the industry I'm in, the utility industry. It seems like across the board there was a hiring gap for about 15 years to where you have people knocking on retirement's door, working at the company, and then you have this 30 and below or 35 and below group, and there's not a whole lot in between. And I'd say the biggest gap is as those mid 30-year-olds are coming into leadership roles, um, we're being met with resistance to change and openness to new ways of looking at things. And with the new technology, um, the different things that motivate people, it's not necessarily a money thing for a lot of people anymore as much as it's a cultural thing. Having to shift companies, uh, how they go about their business, their day-to-day business with their internal employees and external employees, um, you got to shift that to grow and adapt. And I think there's a little bit of a lag between where that generation's going and where the old generation was. So, teaching the old dog new tricks is probably my biggest struggle.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what will you be doing to change that?
It's hard. It's not a short game. I know I mentioned it 2 or 3 times now, but it boils back down to trust. There's also a little bit of respect there, to where you have to earn somebody's respect, and that looks different for each individual. But typically, when you share experiences with people, um, in the quote unquote trenches, you're in the trenches with them, and you grow and you solve problems together as a team. You tend to build those bonds, and once those bonds are formed, you've got trust. Once people trust you, they're open to your ideas. They listen more. So it's a long game. It's not easy. There's a lot of times that I look back and I go, I don't know if I'm spinning my wheels or if we're moving forward. But we just keep trying to take those little steps forward to grow in that developing trust phase. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I've asked you this, but personally, how do you deal with negative personalities? Have you had anybody with a negative personality?
Yeah. I came from, not in my current role, my previous role, I think I worked in what would be classified as one of the most toxic work environments you could be a supervisor in. Um, and I learned a lot. But how you handle the negativity, you've got to come in each day and with the idea that you're there to make a change. Um, and you do get people's buy-in slowly, and it's a long game. I can't say that, because I was only a supervisor there for, I don't know, about a year and a half. I know it was better when I left than it was when I got there. But was the work done? I don't think so. I don't think they got that place going to be fixed for probably a 3 or 5 year plan. So you got to address the negativity, day by day. There's some things that you can change. Um, Typically, developing small groups to spark change. So change comes from internal to fix the problems. That's the most receptive. People take that and accept it a lot easier than it coming from top down. So I tried that, to kind of spark that change and affect, change the negativity, change the perspective from internal, and allow it to grow out. And then a lot of it was given, setting some tools, some new ways of looking at things. That, perfect example, I came up with a change board that we put. It's so simple, so childish. I felt like I was like, this is so elementary school. Um, but I put a board up that had, what you wanted to see change, and then you got to watch it move through that change process. So it went from an idea to, what was being worked on, to the end result, basically summed up. Um, but the intent was, as soon as something was on there, we moved rapidly through it. So um, it took probably 3 weeks before anybody put anything on the board. But then once the first thing happened and we solved it like that, like within a 24-hour period, they were like, let's throw something else up there. And it got kind of like a game for a little bit. But once that died off, then you started getting to some real change, that they're like, okay, I got a problem with this. And then you prioritize that because you know it's important to your employees, and then they get to watch it change. And so there's no denying that change is happening at that point. Whether you're supporting it or not supporting it, you go, well, somebody had an issue and it was fixed. So, it's just a long game.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Awesome. That is all my questions. Thank you for your time.
yeah.